Hello, everyone. We are here today, March 15, having our third webinar about IoT. And this month, IoT is in the spotlight. And we are very happy to have some our awesome speakers. You know, they are going to share some insights about IoT, the challenges and opportunities this sector has right now in different countries. We have very special guests from Mexico, Canada, and from Canada that currently is in Dubai, actually, and we probably are going to have some troubles listening to the guy in Dubai just because he's trying to reconnect right now. But don't worry, we're kind of resolving that part. In the meantime, we would like to tell you that this month, Betelia e-bikes is our sponsor. So we're really happy to have Emilio Sosa from Betelia e-bikes join us today. And he's going to share as well as an IoT company, how has been his experience being, a scale-up startup, and how he has been challenging, passing those challenges, and as well, what kind of opportunities he has in the market as an IoT company. So, okay, so Caleb is trying to connect. Caleb currently works at Cisco, and he's in a trip in Dubai, so you will hear there that he's trying to connect. So in the meantime, we're going to start with the first question. And our first question is that, guys, we know that IoT is becoming an essential part of many type of solutions. What are the specific sectors in your country developing more solutions in IoT? We have here, for example, sometimes we have in medical devices, sometimes it has been automobile. Can you speak a little bit, how is this developing, in your ecosystem? We're going to start with Emilio. Hello, Emilio, did you hear me?
Yes, I'm here, sorry about that.
So no worries.
My name is Emilio Sosa. I am co-founder of Betelia. I'm currently working in Canada and obviously in Mexico. My company was founded there. So our focus right now is on electric vehicles. Right now we are producing electric bikes. We're producing e-bike share systems and electric pedicabs. These kind of technologies in transportation are like really new one on the market. But what is really new is that we are actually developing not just electric vehicles, we are actually developing connected electric vehicles. And that's one of the biggest trends on the electric market for this moment and for the future too. So in our perception, there is four important trends in this sector. And one is obviously is that the transportation needs to be electric. One is that the electric vehicles needs to be connected. The third one is that the electric vehicles needs to be autonomous. And obviously, the electric vehicles need to be shared. You need to share those electric vehicles with more people. So, because the market is currently moving to a sector where the people don't want to buy a vehicle, they want to share the vehicle with another one. So that's one part of our work right now. So to be more focused with the question, we develop a technology which is actually a telemetry system inside every single vehicle. So in simple terms, what we are receiving is raw data from our customers, and we create some reports to them. So for example, if you have a company who is actually using our vehicles, we know where is every single vehicle on real time. We know which was the average speed of everyone, the last time that they actually plugged their batteries, and we know more data from them. So the reports for them are very important right now. In that area, they can actually do improvements in the way they are doing their own transportation, and obviously with the mission to be more efficient, right?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Emilio. So now I would like to pass to Daniel. Daniel Guevara, he is founder director for IoT net in Mexico. So Daniel, we would like to ask you some questions. What are the IoT subsectors that are booming up right now in Mexico?
Thank you. Thank you, Miriam. My name is Daniel Guevara. I'm founder of IoT Net Mexico. We are the operator of the network, Sigfox network in Mexico. So I will talk about the sectors in the IoT, but only the LP1. So only when the devices talk to the web, to the network, but only with very few amount of data. So in this kind of IoT sector, we are seeing since 2 years ago that utility sector is very, very strong here. So for metering, water metering, gas metering, and electricity meterings. So this is a very, very big and strong sector that we saw that will begin and start very soon using this type of IoT networks. Also, we are seeing not only in Mexico, but in the whole LATAM, in Latin America, logistics are very strong. So, for example, you have some pallets tracking. Before, you couldn't track a pallet because it was very expensive to put a GSM or a GPRS or a 2G, 3G, 4G modem in each pallet. So also the power consumption was very high for this kind of technologies. And now with the LP1 networks like Sigfox or other ones, it's very easy. It's very it's not very consuming in energy. So with batteries, it can still talk in years. And we are seeing some millions of devices in those kind of logistics trackers. Also, we have another one is security. In Latin America, the security is a very big issue. So for tracking of persons, of assets, it's very important. Also for security in the smart cities. Smart cities is another sector that we saw that it will become very, very huge in the next years in Latin America. Maybe we saw some smart parking project, smart lighting projects, also for waste management projects. So we see these 4 sectors: utilities, logistics, security, and smart cities projects. The very big project that will start very soon.
Okay, that's awesome, Daniel. Thank you so much for that. We are going to try to give the word to Caleb. Caleb, I don't know if you can speak now, Caleb?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. That's
Okay.
awesome.
Okay, finally.
Yeah. So, Caleb, this is really important for us. You currently are working for Cisco. What is the tendency right now in IoT? What kind of subsectors is IoT booming up right now?
I think I can also echo what the team was just mentioning. Smart city definitely is one of the focus areas. So there are several applications under smart city that are really in the core of IoT applications. So you can see things like smart parking, smart lighting, things like that are really starting to get traction in several cities around the world. Also, the use cases and applications related to physical security, physical safety and security. And these are also, it's an evolving market, and it's really getting the attention of several cities and several municipalities, and also security is getting attention from different countries all around the world. So that's also another growing area, which is exponential growth in the smart and safe city kind of applications. But in other sectors, I see also significant growth in the IoT in the fields like in transportation and in energy. Specifically in transportation, that's all the fleet management, mass transit connectivity applications that can push, or use cases that can push content for users that are using the mass transit systems, different mass transit systems, from buses to metros to trains to all these sort of things. In the energy, I can give also a couple of examples that I think the team mentioned some of that as well, which is mainly in the distribution automation and smart metering. as well as the distributed energy resources. So smart metering definitely is evolving everywhere. Lots of projects and thousands, hundreds of thousands of smart meters are coming up in several major countries around the world, and all of these are considered under IoT applications. So yeah, these are the main segments that I see: smart city, transportation, and energy.
Perfect. Thank you so much for those insights, Khaled. And I'd like to ask you the next question, and then we go with Daniel and Emilio as well. The next question is about, how difficult has been for traditional sectors to actually transition into adopt IoT solutions. How you have seen that? What are the challenges, the main challenges traditional sectors are facing right now to actually adopt IoT solutions in the world?
The challenges are significantly big. So that's it's an evolving sector. As I mean, there is definitely the main challenge is to try to justify this investment. So the justification of investment and getting the business case in front of these municipalities or in front of these customers is something always challenging, because some of them needs to understand what will be the return, how can they monetize this investment, and how can they get either cost saving or revenue generation out of the investment that they're going to make. But there are other challenges as well, which is if we take the example of smart city, for example, the main challenge under smart city is the way that the silos are going to be broken between the different municipalities, so that this will allow them to share the data among the different municipalities and have the ability to leverage really this asset of building a common telecommunication asset and building a common storage and processing asset that can be shared across the different municipalities, which is the main or the real value of having this in a smart city kind of environment, is allowing these different entities under the city management and extending to the government to share the data and to share the platform that they're going to build. The other challenge is that I think the team mentioned that the evolution of sensors and this millions of sensors that are going to be there are a couple of challenges there. First, that these sensors are going to consume power. So that's why new technologies around low power, long range, like the Sigfox and the LoRa technologies, are really grabbing the attention of all the IoT or most of the IoT use cases that have thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions of sensors, because they consume less power, and it's a challenge when you're trying to implement these kind of solutions, that you find out that the objective is to save money, but you found out that to power up these millions of sensors, you need to spend money. The other and last point that I would like to mention is the security. So you're throwing millions of IP devices or communication sensors in the field. You need to make sure that you're able to secure this one or these sensors without having really physical security around these devices. I think that's briefly an overview of the challenges that I see here.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Khaled. Now, Diego, you are in Mexico. You are also managing, some part of these challenges that the country is facing, actually adopting IoT solutions. What is the situation in Mexico right now to do that with traditional markets?
Yes. Yes, Daniel. Okay. Yes, yeah, I'm really agree with that Khaled said. There is two very big problems to make the transition to adopt the IoT solutions. First one is the business model. Business model needs to go from traditional business model to new ones. So, the new business model in the IoT project needs to evolve in different ways, where the ROI, it could be not an issue anymore for this kind of project, because we are talking about 100,000 of million of devices, not only 100 devices. We need to go further in this kind of project. So yes, the business model needs to be improved. there is some new projects here in Mexico that are improving this kind of business model. For example, with the button projects. So this is the IoT devices, with the lowest price, and with a lot of projects right now. Only a button to raise something. So maybe a panic button, or a button to buy a pizza, or something like that. Right now, the business model is you buy the button to do the actions. In the future, the button needs to be free. Maybe the companies, or for marketing, some companies will pay for those buttons, and it could be this kind of new business model. Another one, and Khaled said, it is the problem is the power consumption and the price of the devices. To have a million devices project, you need to be very, very low price in the device, and in the connectivity, and in the power consumption. So these new LP1 solutions, LP1 networks, are helping in that way to have very. For example, the devices that the button devices that I talk right now, we need to be below $5 per device to have this kind of project feasible. And in the same time, the network needs to be very, very low price. A lot of people are saying that the price needs to be zero for this kind of networks. We are going that way, but it will be difficult, and we need to consolidate also all the volumes in the whole areas. For example, the whole Americas area. So we are doing that between some different network company to consolidate the use cases and raise the number of devices. And in that way, they will adopt very well the IoT solutions.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for those insights. So it seems like the situation is very similar between one country and another, but I would like to also highlight what is the situation from a startup perspective. So Emilio from Betelia, you are a startup in IoT. What has been your main challenge to actually, that you face when you try to sell the solution to traditional sectors?
Well, my experience is very well connected with different areas, so I can speak a lot about the Mexican market, and obviously a little bit about the Canadian market, and there is actually big differences. And for example, in our perception is that we're using, our IoT technology just to track and to receive the data from our customers. So one challenge is actually a part of, of legal contracts, for example, because you are actually tracking people. Obviously the information, it's to develop better infrastructure. Right now we are living in a moment where the information is everything. So, but for example, if you go to Mexico and you want to go to start working with a large company, and you are telling those guys that you're actually going to use that information to develop your products, and obviously to develop their reputation, it's a little an issue for them. So, for example, our biggest challenge right now is on the legal. So that's why we develop a couple of contracts. So the contracts with our customers, just to be clear in which areas we are using the information that we're receiving from our vehicles. Third thing is that actually there is some kind of zones in Mexico that is actually not, they don't have a great development to receive enough technology of IoT. So actually, if you go to Mexico, for example, to the south of the country, we problems even with connection, internet connection. There is not enough internet connection to actually use our technology as full as we can. in the other term here in Canada, well, Canada is a different market. So, and they are ahead of us, ahead of the Mexican market. So they are more used to type of technologies. They want more products like these ones. They want the information because as the Canadian market, it's very important to them of the product and obviously the service and obviously the proposition value of the products or the services. So it's a different way. In other things is that the Canadian market is more open to these type of technologies and not just to buy or to use these technologies, even to new kind of technology. So that's why we have a correct bridge in our company. It's because we are based in Mexico, but at the same time we are based in Canada. So we have a perfect infrastructure to develop more. Why? Because Canada has a lot of infrastructure to do developments, and especially with the R&D. And obviously you have a market in Mexico which is actually growing a little bit slower than the Canadian, but in our part of the business, I believe that this is actually a good strategy for us. Obviously, I mean, the target of a company needs to be global, and we are actually receiving different type of issues with the technology for both of the countries, which is actually a good information to us for expand our business to different new countries. For example, the US is more close to Canada. So what we develop in Canada is going to be easier to introduce in the US than if we develop in Mexico and we start introducing in Mexico and then come to the US. That's a different step, and actually it's going to be.
Okay, thank you so much for those insights, Emilio. So we are going to go for the next question, but before that, I want to remind people, if you are now listening this webinar and you are live, please just go to send us your questions to contact@latamstartups.biz or through the hashtag LatamStartups. So we can continue the conversation at the end of the webinar. We are going to review if you have sent us questions or comments, and we are happy to answer those. So now our next question is about cybersecurity. And this is something that you all have talked a little bit. And but based on the studies that we've done and in the last two webinars that we had, we saw that, cybersecurity has a perception, strongly in Canada or USA than in Latin America. So cybersecurity is something that is becoming highly relevant for IoT and other sectors. How is the ecosystem working to provide a good level of security and privacy for users with that specific concern? So, Caleb, you work for Cisco. How you guys are working that part to, for customers to actually trust that privacy and security is there in the solutions that are developing?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's a concern which is coming up with any discussion with customers that are implementing IoT applications. So whether we talk to energy or transportation or smart city, as I mentioned, these are thousands or millions of IP devices that are thrown in the field. So in every discussion, the cybersecurity concerns are there. The cybersecurity comes as an integral part of any discussion around these kind of projects. Maybe Cisco is one of the companies that have several level of security, so we can secure on different layers in these kind of architectures. So we can secure from the device itself, from the intelligent device or the intelligent sensor, how it communicates to the what we call it the fog nodes, or to the data concentrators, and how this data is further passed to layers above that or beyond that until it reaches the data center. So in different layers in the architecture, we have several defense techniques that can be implemented and that we present to the customer that that we will be able to find the proper way to secure his data coming from his, whether it's smart meters or connected cars or whatever, until it reaches to the cloud. But definitely, several companies are facing challenges with this, specifically because they're around these devices. You don't find any physical security, and that's the main challenge. So we have seen lots of systems and lots of other intelligent devices, vendors that are failing to pass tests like the penetration testing for cybersecurity. So definitely, we talk about the different layers of defense that we can implement in these networks. We talk about the certificate exchange between the devices and the nodes or the data concentrators that connect directly to the things, and these kind of different layers of defense technique, as I mentioned. So that's how the discussion starts, and that's how we start looking at an architecture specifically to cover the security requirement for the different customers.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Khaled. Emilio, how you're facing those comments from clients in Canada or USA, or have you ever, have concerns from your clients or, people in the ecosystem about security and cybersecurity concerns in your specific startup?
Well, in our experience, we work with a lot of police enforcement and transit enforcement in Mexico. So we're actually using our IoT technology with them and with large companies too. So in terms of security, the security for us is the most important part because you don't want to have the data from police enforcement with a hacker or something like that. So for us, we work very, very, very hard at the back end of the code. So what we actually do is we are creating a really good encryption about our system because we want to maintain the data as secure as possible. So it's all about how are you coding, how is the protocols of security with the connections. For example, we work with GSM chips, for example, from regular mobile. So we need to take a close look about the security of the protocols of the connection with the internet, with the devices, and obviously with the platform. So security, it's super important. But if you have an enough with your platform, so you have customers happy, they are safe, and they obviously trust in your technology. But at the end, security needs to be updated every single day, because you never know if someone wants to pick some data from your platform or from your devices or wherever you are working. So security, maintain a correct follow-up about that. So in our perception, is just development of coding and protocols of connection, and it's a regular job inside our company. So we have actually a team who is actually taking care about those parts of our products, and yeah, you need to maintain a wonderful structure and follow up. Everything is about follow up.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Emilio. So Daniel, in Mexico, and we've seen a tendency in Latin America that privacy and security is not really a big concern for customers in Latin America. How do you see this tendency is coming up, or do you hear more about this in the ecosystem about cybersecurity?
Yes, of course. Cybersecurity. We saw here in the Latam market, and especially in Mexico, that is a very big concern. And when you are seeing some projects with the data of millions of people. So, for example, in the utility sector, is a very, very big concern. So, for example, the Sigfox technology has the stack, the communication stack has born maybe in 2010, more or less. All this LP1 technology also. So in those days, the concern of cybersecurity was already present. So these new networks, these new technologies embed the cybersecurity in the core, in the core. Every layer of the Sigfox network has security embedded from the device physically, so hardware security, to the front end. So this kind of network, LP1 network for IoT projects, are very secure. And another way to see that is these devices, and likely the other devices like web cameras or another kind of devices that has a TCP/IP stack embedded. So every second you can reach the device remotely. Compared to this technology, the LP1 technology or Sigfox technology, the device is not connected. This is very important to understand. The device has the ability to send messages or receive messages, but when the device is not sending or receiving messages, the device is completely asleep. So no one can reach the device, only physically. So we need to understand the security different with the different new technologies that are coming from the IoT sector. We need to see the security in different ways. And of course, yes, in Latam we saw that the companies, the government is a very big concern, the security for those projects.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Daniel. Now, regarding our next question is that, in some of the numbers that we saw during the studies that we made about IoT this month, we saw that Canada and Latin America are actually behind many other countries, not just the USA that normally is leading this kind of, sectors. USA for sure has more than 53%, 50% of IoT solutions coming up from there. While behind USA is there are some other countries from Asia, China, India, all of that, even Singapore. There are so many other countries that are actually developing very good in the strongest startup ecosystems in IoT. How Canada and Latin America can catch up, with those numbers and developing an ecosystem? What do you think is needed in the market right now to actually put it strong, the ecosystem in IoT? So Caleb, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I think maybe a couple of points have been mentioned already on this discussion, that there has to be a law to govern and facilitate the sharing of the data. This is one of the key points that has to be there to open up the market for these kind of projects. So sharing the data definitely is going to be an important thing that will enable the implementation and will open the market for developers and for innovation that will come on top of this IoT implementations. So it's not going to be mainly around the sensor technologies or these kind of things. Everything will happen in the IoT, or the growth that will happen in the IoT and that will keep it moving is how are we going to manage the data flow? So that is going to be the main thing. How are you going to manage the data flow which is flowing from the sensor to the platform, and how are you going to build some intelligence on top of that? So to enable the innovation that will come on top of this data, there has to be a law that govern the data and that facilitate the manipulation of this kind of information within certain rules. So I think this is one of the key things that will enable the startups and the companies that are willing to innovate and invest in this space to go ahead and start putting something in front of the customers, start building innovative solutions, start building business logic on top of the data that can be gathered from these kind of use cases and sensors. Yeah, you still there?
Oh, sorry, I was mute. Thank you so much, Khaled.
Okay. I thought I was disconnected for a second.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
So thank you so much for that. And Daniel, the question here will be for Latin America as well, how we can actually catch up with the rest of the market. What is needed in Latin America to create a strong startup ecosystem in IoT?
Thanks, Miriam. I will talk only for the part of the IoT where we are. So in the low end of the pyramid. So only the IoT project where the data is very tiny. So the Twitter of the internet. In this sector, we saw that, for example, when the Sigfox technology started in France, a lot of the ecosystem grow there in Europe, and also now in US. But 2 years ago, when we started here in Mexico, we saw that there is a very huge potential in Latin countries to raise those big projects. And I'm talking with a very specialized companies like design houses. There is few here in Mexico. We try to bring the opportunity to the local ecosystem. So we think the local companies are the one that the good to address the big issues in Latin America, and these big issues transform in the big IoT project. So we think right now, for example, we have 50 design houses here in Mexico working on several projects, from very specialized embedded designs from to very big software platform in the cloud. So we don't think that we are very far from to create very interesting solutions in IoT. I think we are from now in more or less 1 or 2 years, there will be very interesting IoT solution from Latam countries.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Daniel. So, Emilio, regarding that part in a specific, do you have seen the ecosystem in Mexico, USA, and Canada? How do you think we can catch up with the USA and the other ecosystems from the startup perspective? What type of support you guys need to actually catch up?
Well, in our perception is that we need more resources to do more development. So if we see, and I want to talk a little bit more about my experience in both of the countries, even Canada and Mexico, is that if you see a lot of support for R&D and for development of new technologies, and that's good. But if you go to Mexico, there is not enough resources to do new developments, to design new products, new services, or wherever you want. There is not enough resources. And it's interesting, the story about Mexico and Canada, because Mexico and Canada are not too far from both of them. US obviously is a monster, has a market, because they have a lot of people who is actually working in new technologies. But if you have a close look about Mexico and Canada, for example, with students, for example, Mexico is almost close to 15,000 coding grads, and Canada more or less is going to be very similar. But if you go to the startup perspective, and if you compare those 15,000 coding grads from Mexico and plus the 15,000 coding grads from Canada, we don't have enough development. Because, for example, US has 70,000 coding grads, and they have 707 unicorns as startups, and Canada obviously only has, I don't know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 4 unicorns of startups. And if you go to Mexico, there is any unicorn has a startup. So I believe that for the next maybe 2 or 3 years, the relationship between Canada and Mexico needs to be closer. We have some strong skills in Mexico, like super high-end and super qualified workforce in Mexico, and you have the best labs here in Canada, and both of them needs to have a common point, and that's a bridge that we need as an entrepreneurs. So Mexico is growing, and we have more and more and more entrepreneurs. But what we really need in Mexico is successful entrepreneurs, and what we really need in Canada is to push the successful entrepreneurs in Canada to be global successful entrepreneurs, and that's like a type of a roadmap that we can see for the next 2 to 3 years. And yeah, I believe that maybe in the next 5 years or maybe 7 years, we can be more competitive in LATAM. But we need partnerships, and the partnerships are the countries which are more developed than ours, in my perspective.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Emilio. So we are going to go with the last question because we are just, about to finish the webinar. But before that, I want to remind you, if you want to ask questions or place comments, please contact at latamstartups.biz or the hashtag LatamStartups. I know many of you are looking at watching this webinar in YouTube, and sometimes you place comments there. We can answer those comments after as well, but we cannot kind of like go through that channel right now because we are in the middle of recording. But so far, the last question will be about investment. How do you see the investment ecosystem regarding IoT? In your ecosystem, is really difficult to get investment for IoT solutions right now, or do you see a high interest in investors to actually put some money on IoT solutions right now? Caleb, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, I think I also echo part of what the team mentioned, that it might be much easier in the US and Canada more than the countries in Latin America, so more than Mexico and other countries in Latin America. But definitely this is something that will enable this sector to grow. So availing the investment and supporting the incubators and the startups, this is the main thing that will enable these small companies to start to innovate and start to build more projects and products that can go into the IoT space. But definitely the investment, it is varying from country to country. It's varying from region to region. Some entities and some government entities and some large companies, they are doing some co-innovations with startups. They are doing some seed funding to some companies that enables them to build solutions that make sense to what the government is looking for, or what some of the industries in the country that are looking for. So as the team mentioned, it is varying from country to country. Some countries it is much easier to get access to funds, and other countries it is really difficult because the field itself is emerging. It's going to take time until this field reaches into maturity.
Okay, perfect. Now, Daniel, how is investment in Mexico for companies in IoT? How is the tendency right now? Do you see that it's coming in a high interest, or is it still really traditional in compared with the other sectors?
Yes, we saw an emerging interest in funds to go to the IoT startups. But as Khaled said, it will take some time because right now the investor maybe don't see the real potential, because there is for example, in the network side, there is a real battle between the different technologies. So if they don't know where the technology is going, maybe they don't want to invest in short time. So maybe after 1 or 2 years, where the real direction in the technology will be very clear, maybe we will see a lot of funds in IoT startups. But right now, in Mexico City, in some places, very special places like Mexico City, Guadalajara and Monterrey, we saw that startups incubators, for example, a lot of startup incubators, half or maybe more than half of the startups are related to IoT. So this is a tendency. We saw a tendency that the IoT will be very important in Mexico and Latam. So the funds will follow this tendency.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. And Emilio, as from your perspective, being a startup and raising money for your IoT startup, how difficult has been this between Mexico, Canada? What is your perspective on that?
We have a really good perspective about the ecosystem in terms of investment, and I want to share with you a couple of some points that are interesting for everyone. So, for example, if you will take a close look about the investments opportunity in 2016, we had a growth of 19%, which is important for the startup companies. But there is actually another point that which is actually more important. There was a down of investment around 11% in the US, and that's a good point for everyone, because this point is you can see that the VCs are diversifying their portfolios outside the US, and that's important for companies like mine or companies from Mexico or Chile or in any single country in Latin America, because you can actually have a deal with a US VC fund right now, because they are trying to put money in different sectors, and they are trying to put money in different markets because they want to grow as a VC fund. And that's actually very important for us. The ecosystem in Canada about investment obviously is much better than the Mexican, because the rounds here are much bigger. But in terms of the speed of to close those deals are a little bit slower. I believe that it's because the Canadian investors, they want to do a lot of research to take their risk as down as possible. So that's one of the perceptions. But definitely, and for the next years, Canada is going to be very important for entrepreneurs, because with these politics that we are living between the US, Mexico, and it's going to be very difficult to be a new successful entrepreneur in the US. That's why you have a lot of startup companies looking to move their operations from the US to Mexico, from the US to Canada. And in terms of that, I believe that obviously the entrepreneur corridor here in Canada, like Toronto and Waterloo, is going to take a lot of, it's going to be super strong. And in terms of that, Canada is going to be like a global platform for entrepreneurs. So that's our thoughts about the investment and about the market and obviously the ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Emilio. So this is it right now with our webinar. Thank you so much to our speakers, Khaled Adam from Cisco, Emilio Sosa from Betelia, and Daniel from IoT Mexico. So Daniel Guevara from IoT Mexico. So the last thing that I have to say is that we are finishing up this month IoT in the Spotlight with LATAM chats through Twitter. So if you have a solution in IoT and you would like to share your experience, growing your solution, and as well the challenges and opportunities that you had in the market, please join us next Wednesday, March 22nd at 12 p.m. And we are going to be chatting with startups in Latin America and Canada about IoT, the challenges and opportunities they have in the market, because IoT is in the spotlight. And we would like to thank you thanks e-bike, Betelia e-bikes, for sponsor our webinars this month. So thank you so much, everybody. We don't have questions at this point, but I'm sure that people are going to post comments and questions later. So we keep connected for those questions and comments for other time. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.